pleasant good morning to you. It is Monday, the 30th of May. I'm Shane Seeley, and this is the CBC Morning Report. Leading our news, some sad news occurring on our roads last night. Barbados recording yet another road fatality. Public Relations Officer with the Barbados Police Service, Inspector Rodney Innes, confirmed to CBC News that an accident in Bakerswood, St. Peter, which occurred around 5 minutes past 9, resulted in that death. It involved a motor car driven by a 53-year-old man and the now deceased 41-year-old motorcyclist. The deceased has been identified by his immediate family members as Trevor Antonio Eiffel of Batalis, St. Peter. The two vehicles were traveling in opposite directions when they collided. The motorcyclist, well, he received injuries and died at the scene. Ambulance personnel and fire personnel responded. A medical doctor also visited the scene and pronounced the death of Mr. Eiffel. This is the 7th road fatality for the year, and it has come from what have been 6 serious collisions for the year so far. In other news this morning, we are hearing that the recent relaxation in protocols, those being the partial removal of the mask mandate, and also the PCR and rapid antigen test for incoming travelers who are vaccinated. Well, this has given projections coming out of the UK a significant boost. This is what we are hearing from Cheryl Carter, the Barbados Tourism Marketing Incorporated Director for the UK market. She spoke about developments in this regard last night on The People's Business, where the focus was on projections for tourism in 2022 and beyond.
Certainly, the recent relaxation of the testing and protocols to result in a significant spike in demand for the destination. There's significant pent-up demand. Barbados continues to be a destination with huge cachet, and all of our operators are saying to us that they're seeing tremendous interest in booking Barbados for the summer and, of course, also for the winter.
Can we talk about those winter projections just yet?
I think we can. I mean, the reality is that all of the operators that we've spoken to in the last 2 weeks, because we do this fortnightly catch-up, are reporting to us that they're pacing well ahead of 2019. And that for us is very encouraging.
Now, in what was a continuation of the outlook for tourism on The People's Business, the Director for Latin America and the Caribbean for the BTMI, Corey Garrett, also revealed some promising news for tourism out of that market.
We look forward to our Caribbean visitors moving back to or coming back to the market. We will continue to work with the airlines to get that capacity back. On the terms of Latin America, as mentioned before, Copa returns June the 15th. So we expect that interest or that influx of Latin American travelers to pick up once again. As you know, their winter is our summer, so it provides a great opportunity for destination Barbados to have some business during what are usually the softer months of the summer periods outside the traditional North Atlantic markets. So we're definitely looking forward to working with those key markets. Brazil, Colombia, Mexico is a very promising market for us. They're showing lots of interest pre-pandemic and even post-pandemic. And then to tie it all in, the entire cruise sector. And I know you guys have spoken about cruise last week, but we've also seen tremendous interest come out of the Latin American cruise sector. Actually, over the course of the pandemic, my team and I had the privilege of training over 1,800 agents virtually from the cruise sector on destination Barbados. And this has come out of course, the home porting relationships that we fostered during the pandemic period. So we expect to see also a larger addition of Latin American cruisers coming to the Barbadian shores. So
that's Corey Garrett, the Director for Latin America and the Caribbean for the Barbados Tourism Marketing Incorporated. And we have a lot more news coming out of that People's Business, which focused on tourism, the outlook for 2022 and beyond. You will hear a lot more about it in subsequent newscasts. We'll take a break here, but when we come back, we'll look at the local COVID-19 numbers, and we have some other big stories right here on the Morning Report. 58 males and 60 females make up the 118 new COVID-19 cases recorded in Barbados on Saturday. Of this number, there were 24 people under the age of 18 and 94 persons 18 years and older. The Best Dos Santos Public Health Lab had conducted a total of 554 tests on that day. There are now 48 people in isolation facilities, so the numbers there have been reduced significantly, and 2,172 people in home isolation. No deaths were recorded, and the number of those who died from the virus remains at 446. Now, even as Barbados and the world face common challenges in the fight against COVID-19, an Anglican priest suggests the experiences have not changed the mindset of humanity. The rector of the St. George Parish Church, Senator Reverend Dr. John Rogers, says despite the harrowing experiences, there's still much hatred, oppression, and injustice as before the pandemic.
I believe that we've learned that humanity is not easily disturbed. Humanity is not easily disturbed. It seems as though the very attitudes we went into this pandemic with are the attitudes we're coming out with.
Over in Guyana, officials there are continuing investigations into a fire that claimed the lives of 3 young siblings who were left alone while their mother worked as a security guard. The alleged arsonist repeatedly threatened the mother about her and her children's safety.
In a statement, the Guyana Fire Service now says that its initial investigations point to the origin of the fire being electrical in nature. The fire service said its fire tenders were unable to reach the scene of the fire because of the absence of any passable roadway to the back dam where the small wooden house once stood. The mother of the children, Tracy Flew, said she was at work on Wednesday night when she received the devastating news of her house being on fire. By the time she got to the scene, the building was completely gutted and the lives of the children lost.
Last night I left to go to work. I really don't know what happened last night. I left to go to work. I got a phone call saying that my house on fire when I did work. I really don't know what happened last night at my house.
The woman's ex-boyfriend was arrested by the police yesterday. The man had reportedly threatened the woman to harm her children and her after she filed assault charges against him. He remains in custody under investigation. He was not the father of the 3 children.
Yes, I was in a relationship with an abusive boyfriend. I go to the station countless times to make report. This month I'm supposed to be with court there, and he tell me that anytime I go to court, it's gonna be the last day I ever see a police, and he gonna kill me. And enough night, I used to go there running because he used to want to put in knives to me, running me with cutlass, telling me how he kill me, and I not see me cheering. Then the next time he tell me how he kill me and bury me, nobody not gonna find me body.
Story there coming out of Guyana. Meanwhile, over in Trinidad, the St. Augustine campus of the University of the West Indies is set to return to face-to-face learning this September after the campus principal, Brian Copeland, announced that members of staff will return to the campus from June the 6th. The move comes after the Trinidadian government mandated all tertiary institutions there to implement strategies to return to in-person learning. The campus suspended in-person learning in March 2020, and campus principal Copeland thanked the few members of staff who remained on site to ensure the premises remain safe and operational. Meanwhile, the campus Guild's president, Kobe Sandy, believes the hybrid format should be retained to cater to those students who are employed or overseas, and express his wish for any official communication on the return to in-person learning to be timely. The social, political, and economic struggles of Afghans are now being worsened due to the war in Ukraine. Merchants in that Asian country are reporting scarcity and rising food prices, which are directly linked to the Russian invasion. Meanwhile, Texas officials are reacting to the revelation of that police officers delayed their response to the Texas shooter, which resulted in 19 children and 2 teachers being slain. In Houston, meanwhile, the National Rifle Association hosted its convention where they continue to demonstrate their unconditional support for gun rights. More in this Al Jazeera report.
It was a stunning revelation that might have cost children their lives.
Of course it was not the right decision. It was the wrong decision, period.
The Texas Director of Public Safety explained that while a gunman was shooting children inside Robb Elementary School, police waited outside for 78 minutes, much longer than authorities had said earlier. Saying police thought the gunman was barricaded alone and no longer a threat to children, he choked up.
Forget how I'm doing. What about the parents of those children?
Governor Greg Abbott and local residents reacted with fury.
I was misled. I am livid about what happened.
Like this is on the back of the cop car to protect and serve. Protect who? Why didn't they protect kids?
As those shocking revelations came out, the gunman's mother made a humble plea.
I have no words. I have no words to say because I don't know what he was thinking.
Across the state of Texas, in Houston, the National Rifle Association held its first convention in 3 years, despite the deaths of 21 people in Uvalde. With former President Donald Trump as keynote speaker, still an unapologetic supporter of gun rights.
As always, in the wake of these tragedies, the various gun control policies being pushed by the left would have done nothing to prevent the horror that took place. Absolutely nothing.
Ironically, due to his presence, no guns were allowed inside the gun convention. The crowd outside the convention is as animated as the crowd inside. There are thousands of people out here, and their message is the NRA should go away. The massive throng protested the group's timing and goals.
Shame on you!
High-profile figures addressed the crowds inside and out.
We will defeat you, and we will overcome you, and we will leave you behind.
Democratic Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee says the NRA meeting is unwelcome in her district.
We welcome them as human beings and visitors. Enjoy the city, but cancel your meetings.
Amid the din of the crowd, perhaps the most somber demonstration was a child-sized coffin, a reminder of just how high the stakes are in the American gun debate.
Time to go across to Wendy on this Monday morning to see what's happening on today's edition of Morning Barbados. Wendy, what are you looking at today?
Good morning to you, Shane. Well, today actually happens to be MS Day. Yes, it's World Multiple Sclerosis Day, where your orange come out and show strength to those who are battling the illness. So we will have some folks along from the MS Society, and we'll be talking all about what they're up to and what they are doing. Also, too, the Fairchild Street Market, as you know, has gone through one phase, Shane, and it's on to phase 2 now. So we'll actually get to interface with some of those vendors in the market to find out exactly what is going on where they are they comfortable, are they happy, you know, what else needs to be done. So those are two of the main conversations which will start our morning. But as we go on, we of course will give you a little flashback to AgriFest and lots more.
Yeah, thank you so much, Wendy. And that's where we're going next on the morning report. Some modular homes set to be built. Well, those were shown at AgriFest over the past few days, and we're going to see some of those constructed in the coming weeks. We'll give you more details on what is happening there. And of course, we have some sports coming your way here on the morning report. Construction of 1,000 low-income houses using wood from Guyana could start within months here in Barbados. The Minister of Housing, Lands and Maintenance, Dwight Sutherland, made the revelation last evening as he toured one of the modular homes on display at AgriFest 2022. The 600 square foot house was assembled mainly by Barbadian workers in less than 10 days. The minister says these homes will help to trim the backlog of 25,000 applications currently before the National Housing Corporation, some dating back as far as 25 years. The houses will be constructed under a partnership with the NHC and Duravilla Homes from Guyana and will form part of the government's plan to construct 10,000 homes in the next few years.
Tomorrow when we sit, we will come up with a plan as to where we're going to place the first 1,000 Duravilla homes, Duravilla NHC homes in this country. So these homes will be going in urban Barbados and rural Barbados across the length and breadth of Barbados. And we are targeting 1,000 homes within the next 12 months.
And construction on 1,000 homes could begin as early as August, he says, depending on when the wood arrives. Minister Sutherland says most of the other materials used to construct the homes will be locally sourced, including the permaclad and concrete bore. According to the minister, government has already identified 35,000 vacant lots and derelict properties where the homes can be constructed, and the cost to the homeowner will be less than $100,000.
We have affordable housing outfitted with renewable energy, and that's how we can have the houses less than $100,000, because we can utilize the input and the economic value of the photovoltaic panels to offset the cost of the land, and that's how we only factor in our home when we talk about less than $100,000. Land is roughly about what, $20,000-$30,000 for a size with 3,500 square foot. Yeah, so you will save that once you get involved with us, with our project, and that will give you an affordable home, something that you can call your home, not just a piece of the rock, but a home, and you can leave something for your children and your children's children.
The National Transformation Initiative was also on board at AgriFest this year, showcasing its suite of online training programs with a view of upskilling those in the agricultural and agribusiness sectors. CBC News spoke to the director of the NTI, Dr. Alison Leacock, about their presence at the event, which culminated last night.
It is an ideal opportunity for us to showcase what we do have available for people involved in agriculture as well as those in agribusiness and the green economy. And those are opportunities that we want to showcase.
Dr. Leacock added that Barbados and Guyana have also entered into an arrangement to train Guyanese in the area of tourism through the Tourism Academy.
With President Ali visiting, we wanted to also let him and others see the partnership that is being forged with tourism and the remit that we have been given to train over 6,000 Guyanese tourism workers. We already have the page designed by our technical team from TAP Media, and one of the things we want to be able to do is to show President Ali what is available and the kinds of discussions that I have been having with his counterparts in Guyana to make this a reality for Guyanese learners.
In Jamaica, the National Commercial Bank is advising customers defrauded of $18 million in 10 days that they're not guaranteed a reimbursement. More in this report.
The bank's Special Investigations Manager, Dane Nicholson, says because customers would have divulged their information to the fraudsters, even unknowingly, the bank isn't obligated to reimburse. Instead, he says the matter will be treated on a discretionary basis.
It will be up to the bank to make a discretionary decision based on customer experience-related matters, not a matter that the customer or the bank account was compromised. The customer would have volunteered their information.
Nicholson, who recently announced NCB customers have been scammed $18 million in 10 days, says the bank's discretion will be fair to all customers.
We will not put one customer in a advantageous position and another in an unfair position. So that is to say that we'll not decide to pay one and don't pay all. What we can do for all, we'll not do for one.
He's dismissing allegations that the scamming is being fueled by NCB workers.
Yes, we do have a BPO partner, and at this point in time, we have no evidence to suggest that there is any internal correlation with what is happening. Banks right around the world, most banks, if not all, outsource some of their call center operations. So this is not anything unique to NCB that would facilitate this type of activity.
Nicholson confirms the monies scammed are insured. However, he notes that doesn't make reimbursement mandatory. He says due to the magnitude of this investigation, it could take weeks as opposed to the usual 3 to 5 business days.
Let's look at what is happening in sports now. Over the weekend, Zane Maloney and his co-driver Craig Yearwood conquered all 85 of their competitors to drive away with the First Citizens King of the Hill title for 2022. The event, which saw 4 runs from Content through Dukes and interval clues in St. Thomas, was the preamble for next weekend's Sol Rally Barbados. Let's take a look at the action on the course.
Like the hundreds of spectators who chose this vantage point, we took in the action as the cars entered the Vaucluse Raceway for the final stages of the 2022 First Citizens King of the Hill. The drivers enjoyed both dry and wet conditions. Either way, the action was like fire, as expected. 4 runs, 2 before lunch and 2 after. That saw multiple drivers registering the fastest times. But when the dust has settled, this was your top 5. They expected to be battling for the title, but instead were 5th and 4th. Rob Swan and co-driver Darren Garrod, senior in their Subaru Impreza WRC S12V, they finished in 5th. The man whom most opened hope of winning was shouldered Dane Skeet and Tyler Mayhew by his side in 4th, 2 minutes 22.20 seconds. He too behind the wheel of a Subaru Impreza WRC S12. The last name might ring a bell. Bird. Well, it's Frank Bird, son of former rally champion Paul Bird, who in his Ford Fiesta Rally 2 with Jack Morton navigating registered a 2 minutes 20.69 fastest, clocking to be 3rd overall. And how about keeping it in the family for the top 2? Home drums are beating first. Stuart Maloney and Christian Yearwood with a fastest run of 2 minutes 19.83 seconds in 2nd and are on the podium. And give it up for your King of the Hill, straight from the pits of Formula 3 to the roads of Vim. Zane Maloney and co-driver Craig Yearwood, 2 minutes, 19.63 seconds. They are your winners. And if today's anything to go by, hold on to your seats. Next weekend, Sol Rally Barbados will be paced like fire.
Really can't wait for the action there. Now, some big congrats are in order for those winners, the champions of the IPL first-timers, the Gujarat Titans. They really conquered the tournament this year with another win after beating Rajasthan Royals in the qualifiers. They came back and beat them in the finals as well. A low-scoring encounter it was. They were able to limit the Royals to 130 for 9. The Gujarat Titans then responded with 133 for 3, led by Harpandir, both with the bat and the ball, taking 3 wickets and then coming back and making a strong 40-odd runs, saying he enjoys the responsibility and it has gotten the best out of him. The Indian player leading his team for the first time in the IPL to the title. Congrats to the Gujarat Titans and their fans once again. Time now for a quick look at the weather. Temperature right now on the outside, 26.6 degrees Celsius. It's partly cloudy. The relative humidity stands at 82%. The barometric pressure just above 1015 millibars, and those winds are coming out of the east at close to 40 kilometers per hour. We'll see a low tide this morning at 5 minutes to 10. There will be a high tide in the afternoon at 28 minutes after 4. Those seas are smooth to moderate in open water. Swells are between 1 and 2 meters and increasing. We'll have a mix of sunshine and clouds here in Barbados today with a few brief scattered light to moderate showers. And tonight we'll have a mix of clear skies and clouds with a few brief scattered light showers. And here's a look at the international weather forecast. And that's it for your Monday, May 30th edition of the CBC Morning Report. I'm Shane Seeley. I'll see you at 7 with headline news. Up next is Wendy Burt with Mornin Barbados.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning. Good morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, morning, morning.
And a magnificent Monday morning to you. Well, no Monday blues. No, absolutely not today. The color will not be blue, but orange. Yes, good morning to you. I'm Wendy Burke. Today is World MS Day, Multiple Sclerosis. And this morning, we're going to be talking to two of the members of the local association. Now, the MS Society was formed back in 1997 by 8 members. And they're going to tell us what the association does and what today MS Day really means. I want to welcome to the program Nikayla Cumberbatch, who's the vice president, and Malicia Ford, a member of the organization. Good morning to you, ladies.
Hi, good morning.
Yes, good morning. Now, what is MS for those who would want to know, Nikayla?
MS stands for multiple sclerosis. It is generally seen as an autoimmune disease which attacks your central nervous system. The myelin that is coating your nerve, it eats away at that and therefore causes a plethora of symptoms, some of which would be dizziness, balance issues, speaking, nerve pain, tingling, you name it, we can have it.
Okay, now then there's times when it's even more severe and individuals actually go blind, lose bladder control, have to be committed to a wheelchair, those instances as well.
Correct.
Now,
I personally have had those experiences.
Okay. Now for you, Malicia, being a member of the society, what's some of the work that you go out there and do?
Hi, Morning. Thanks for having me once again. I've been a member of the society about 3 years now. And in the beginning stages, we would do Bridgetown. We will do any kind of activities where we bring awareness to the general public, to the communities at large. But due to the COVID situation, we have been grounded for quite a while, so not many activities have been taking place. For me personally, what I have done, I have spoken to persons at work, brought awareness to my workplace. I also did it at my church. I also brought awareness to my members of the congregation at my church what MS is and what my day-to-day battle is with MS.
So did you get the condition before you joined the association? How long have you actually been living with it?
Well, to be honest with you, I have been living with something for probably almost 2 decades when I was in my early 20s, but I had no idea what I was battling. Multiple sclerosis is very hard to be diagnosed. So I only got the diagnosis about 3 years ago. And immediately I joined the society because I needed to know more of what the condition is and how life-changing it would be for me other than what I was already experiencing. So it's
Okay.
been about 3 years or so for me in the society.
Okay, Nikela, in terms of the illness, what's your life like with it?
Wow. Just like Milicia, I would have had symptoms from 2006 when I was in my early 20s as well. I was diagnosed in 2018. That diagnosis came as a result of losing the sight in one of my eyes, which would have been optic neuritis. When I presented, the doctor was like, yes, this is a good confirmation of what it is. They would have undergone like 13 MRIs throughout the years trying to figure it out, even though it was a possibility. I have sight problems. I have mobility issues. I have lost the feeling in my hands. So the sensitivity to touch. If someone touches me, it's extremely painful. And if I touch something, I have to literally prime up myself to be able to handle that interaction. I have trouble with my hearing. So it's a lot. And that's just a bit.
The idea of not being able to touch and feeling pain, because as humans we all need that, especially if you're going through troubling times, any kind of sorrow. You know, a hug always helps, but to know that to hug you will hurt you must be quite a difficult thing for your family members and friends to deal with.
It definitely is challenging. I have a grandson and he's 4 years old. If we are going somewhere, I'm trying my best to keep up with him. I have to use a mobility support, which is a cane. There's constant sensitivity at the bottom of my feet. So even to walk would be an issue. But consider I need to be able to hold his hand when we're on the road. And even to do that is a difficulty. So I try to prime myself up just to be able to touch him and hold his hands. Even to touch myself is painful. So it's about priming up yourself for every single thing. It is never a second thought. You can't take these interactions for granted anymore.
Oh, that's a bit disheartening, but I know you ladies are living with it and you are out there in the vanguard making sure people understand the illness. Now, what I like is your theme for MS Day today. It's all about strength. So how do you draw yours, Milicia?
Well, for me, I first draw my strength from the Almighty, from my faith. And in dealing with MS, I always tell persons you definitely need to have a very good support system in place. Persons around you that will lift you up, persons around you that would understand that when you just got out of bed in the morning and you said, I'm tired, it is not that you're lazy, but it is that the fatigue is real. It is also good to have positive persons around you, positive persons in your circle where they would also uplift you and make you feel your worth. Because at some points in time, we go through so many things and things just change so easy in a split second. You would be there laughing, smiling, and then you will burst out into tears and you have no idea why you're crying. That is just part of the condition, or you would snap at your loved ones. It is all in love, but sometimes it comes across a bit harsh. Again, that is another condition, another side effect of the condition, that we have mood swings. So to have a really good support system, persons in your really understand what you are going through, because today you will not get another today tomorrow. Every day is different. And for persons living with MS, it is what we call a snowflake effect. There are no two identical snowflakes. Hence, there are no identical persons living with MS. We experience similar symptoms, but they are never the same.
Okay. Now that's interesting to note, because when you have illnesses, many people have commonalities in terms of what they experience. So we all know we have the same illness, but to know that every MS sufferer does not necessarily have the same complications is quite interesting. Now, Nikela, in terms of the size of the society, what kind of numbers are we talking about in your grouping? And beyond that, how widespread is MS in Barbados?
Well, that is a fairly complicated question. In our society, we have about 30 constant members. We meet once a month. Because of COVID, we have had some challenges with that. But throughout the country, right now, we are kind of balancing between 100 to 140 persons. But those figures are pretty much moving, because MS is one of these conditions where people spend so much time being diagnosed that you could be suffering with this for decades and not be diagnosed, and therefore not know where to go. So the neurologist is the person to make that diagnosis, and as it stands, that figure is pretty much elusive.
Okay. Now, in terms of care and assistance, is it sufficient for you as MS sufferers? Do you easily and readily get access to the services you need? You mentioned that you had to undergo MRIs in order to, before you got your diagnosis. Now, an MRI is not cheap.
No, it's not. Luckily for me, I would have made a decision in my early 20s to have health insurance, and I have been benefiting from that decision. However, the healthcare system here in Barbados is actually very good, and I get a lot of support from that system, whether it be psychiatrists, physiotherapies, occupational therapy, pain management, you name it. The Ministry of Health has an outlet there for you. The idea is just to have awareness and know that it is available.
Okay. Now, Melissa, you seem pretty young, a bit younger than Nikela perhaps. How has it impacted on your life as a young woman? What are some of the things that maybe it has prevented you from pursuing?
To be honest with you, I think Nikela and I, we are the same age.
Okay.
I too have a grandson. He's 3, a younger than hers. And it is hard dealing with your loved ones. I also have a teenage daughter. And it is hard for me educating her about them. She is one where she's very reserved, so she would stay in her shell, and it is very difficult for me to have conversations with her. However, she would come to me at a later date and ask questions, or sometimes I would just find her Googling my condition. Will my mom die from MS? How will life be with my mom with MS? That is hard because she's just a child at this time, but really educating her and her on board. Sometimes situations where I am at home and I will just fall for no reason, or sometimes after taking medication, and it is difficult. She's seeing me taking medication because I inject myself every other day. So it is difficult for her seeing this. And sometimes after medication, I might just have these chills where I am almost freezing, and it's a regular day, it's a hot day, but I am freezing, and she does not understand, or the average person around me does not understand when I say I am so cold. Again, that is one of the things that I am kind of battling with. In terms of me going out, my mobility is affected sometimes. I might wake up one morning and feel like, where did my strength go, or I can't walk. And for me, if you see me, you would see that I look fine. And I call it the invisible disease as well, because the average person cannot look at me and tell. So is a further struggle there, where persons be lying, or you're just want attention and stuff like that. And really and truly, that is far from the truth, where you just can't do it. So those are things that I battle with.
Well, at least you have that faith and belief in the Lord, so I'm sure that prayer takes you through daily as well. Now,
Daily,
Michaela,
yes,
what do you all
definitely.
have planned for today?
Today, the members are going to Pebbles Beach, and we are excited to do that. As you can see, that question lighted me up. Of all the things that the members wanted to do, it was just to go to the beach, just to be able to come out, have some fresh air, enjoy the sun, get into the water. And for so many of us, that is so far and in between, because wheelchair users need special apparatus and help to be able to get into the water. So it's a big affair. The Barbados Defense Force helps us a lot where that is concerned. And we'll be looking forward to having them today to get us into the water and to enjoy Pebbles Beach.
I'm so sorry I can't join you today, but I'm sure you'll have lots of fun, because given what I hear you go through, you deserve a day of fun. Ladies, thank you for joining me this morning. Happy Multiple Sclerosis Day, and I hope that as each day goes along, your pain lessens. MS Warriors, we're stronger together. Wear your orange today in support of those with multiple sclerosis. Michaela Cumberbatch and Malicia Ford, have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much, you
Thank
too.
you.
Thank you
And
for
you too,
having us.
likewise.
We never know what is happening, and as they said, it seems to be the invisible disease. We'll take a break now, and when we come back, we'll get an update about some of our vendors in Bridgetown.
Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
And we're back. Now, if you frequent Bridgetown and mostly Fairchild Street area, you would have noticed that our vendors have new accommodation and some more work is going on in this area. Now, to tell us this morning about some of that work and how they've been in their new accommodation is the head of the Fairchild Street Vendors Association and also the PRO of Barvin, Valentino Barrow. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Yes,
And
good morning,
Barbados
Valentino.
as well.
Now, how has it been going over there?
Well, as if you're referring to the work, that's in progress is steadily going forward, and presently phase 2 is on schedule. But before we start, we would really sincerely like to thank the Honorable Member, our Prime Minister, the Honorable Prime Minister Mayor Amor Mortley, for facilitating this project and in such a timely manner after it was requested from the ministry. We are sincerely grateful for that.
Now, you've moved in, well, some of your vendors have moved into their spanking new kiosk and so on. So how has traffic changed? I know COVID would have put a little bit of damper on things. Traffic was not as high, but how are things going now?
Well, since the passing of the keys, as we like to look at it and affectionately call it the official opening, which happened of that segment, which happened in November, things started off at a slow rate as we anticipated, impacted not only by the numbers that we now have in the area, the food court, but also about the conditions that we are under economically and as it relates also to the COVID pandemic. But we are steadily going forward. We are moving forward, and we are seeing traffic picking up, patronage increasing, and as it applies to some of the efforts that we are putting in to help that traffic come a little quicker and to hopefully keep a steady progress and a high intake of patrons in the facility.
What are some of those efforts? What have you been doing to ramp up your patronage?
Well, we have a series of activities planned. Some are still on the paper, and we're still busy. The committee that has recently been put in place is busy trying to get these things out there. But presently what we can say that is going on, we know for sure that is on the plate and is active, is our Friday session and Saturday sessions. On Friday we have karaoke, we have DJ activity, we have DJ music, a variety of music is played. And on Saturday, we have a set open to all those stars that love to sing, come down and do their thing, you know. They can bring a whole bunch of keys if they choose. So we have karaoke incorporated as well with the DJ activity.
Okay, now given that some of the protocols are still there, how have your membership been observing them? Because you know with karaoke you take your mask off. Are we conforming to the protocols, ensuring that we keep it safe in the area?
We are very serious about those things. We do not take those things for granted, because you will note that during the pandemic, many entities and business places have been closed. We were not one of them, because we are very strict when it comes to protocol. We are not going to be lackadaisical or complacent, and then the next thing you know, the whole facility have to close and all of our livelihood in danger. No. When the karaoke and the DJ activity is going on, we are on the mic periodically, allowing people to know if they're not sustaining in any form, eating or drinking, to please wear their masks. And not only that, stay within a safe distance of each other, even though you're enjoying, you know, the activity that is going on. We have our sanitizing units. We advise the tenants to all have their sanitizing stations where the people can obviously, you know, tip up their hands with the sanitizer and keep themselves clean and whatnot. As it applies to the karaoke, what we do is every time the mic is used, it is sanitized. Sometimes we have about 2 or 3 mics, and they're properly sanitized and passed on according to when they're used.
Okay, well that's awesome to know that you're making sure and keep track of your facility. Now, in terms of the handing over of the keys and the space, how welcoming have the tenants been to the changes? Is everybody happy, or are a few not so comfortable with their new surroundings?
One thing I can say that I've always said. In everything, you can never get all. There's no time on earth you can please everybody at the same time. But the predominance of the complaints that are being expressed by a minimum amount, very small percentage, is space. Because you would understand, and on the Fairchild Street Market, before it was deemed the Fairchild Street Market Village, there were less people. Then we had to incorporate those from Golden Square. So obviously, we had to slice the space at a smaller space. So people will now have space. And that is the major complaint that's going on inside the facility.
Okay, but do they provide additional storage or anything like that if you need it?
Unfortunately, no. We do not have space for additional. So what we ask people to do is if they can, they either can, order less stock, which is not always the proper way to go, or if they can find space somewhere else, either at their home, or if they can be accommodated somewhere within close proximity of the facility. Of course, we will know that they might incur an additional charge, but that's what we can do. Because at the end of the day, we have to work with the space that we are allotted. And we have to, how should I put it, we have to use our heads, so that we can make this venture a success.
Okay.
Because only certain amount, and we want to accommodate as much people as possible, especially those that were on both sides already. So that's what we are requesting of the tenants.
Okay. Now, in terms of the traffic in and out, the flow in terms of not just the food vendors and the entertainment and the drinks at the weekend, but how are the actual vegetable vendors faring?
Well, those that don't know, due to phase 2, they had to be relocated, given temporary relocation opposite the media house on Fairchild. They're presently located under a tent to the east of the facility. And yes, they're doing their best, but obviously they're a bit challenged because they will be in close proximity of the bus terminal. And if you know anything about Barbadians, they don't like to walk much, They don't travel far from what they're accustomed to. So they're experiencing some challenges. And this is one avenue that we would like to, advocate their presence on. They're opposite the media house on Fairchild Street to the east of the sewage plant. So you can check them out there, Barbados. You can go down there and give them some patronage because they're really in need of it. And they deserve to survive just as any other business entity on the country.
Okay. You were saying to me that phase 2 is moving nicely. Now, who are the ones that are supposed to be moving in phase 2?
The said vegetable, fruit, and ground provision vendors there will be housed to the front in phase 2 when it's completed, as well as bread and variety vendors. I do believe due to, how should I put it, some challenges on phase 1, we would also probably have the barbers and hairdressers out there as well. There are 51 units that will be completed. Upon completion, there will be 51 units available to house such activities. We will also have 39 parking spaces to facilitate some of the tenants as well as the patrons that will come into the facility.
What about the taxi men? I thought they were supposed to be housed near you.
Yes, they will be housed as well. They were given 12 spaces I'm told. There were allotted 12 spaces, so we will have them in there, which in a way of speaking will be beneficial to the facility because we would know that many people don't like to take what we call the mass transportation way of traveling, and they might just want the private taxi right there at the fingertips. It'd be right there in the facility. You can hop from one section to the other into a taxi and off you go.
Okay, when I come back, Valentino, we will, after the news, we'll speak to you some more about some of the other things that you want for the vending community. We'll be back in a bit.
Thank you.
Morning Barbados will return after the break.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
And we're back. As we told you before, it's World MS Day. So if you're not yet out of bed and getting ready for work, you still have some time to get up and alter that outfit and put a little orange in. Because, you know, it's a bit troubling to know that all these things are going wrong with you, and one has to wait an entire decade before a proper diagnosis can be given to know exactly what is wrong. So we know what is wrong with the MS people, and now we'll get to find out if there's anything going wrong or right in Barbados at this time. Shane, it's over to you for news.
Thank you, Wendy. Here is your headline news for this Monday, May 30th. Barbados recording yet another road fatality last night. Public Relations Officer with the Barbados Police Service, Acting Inspector Rodney Innes, confirming to CBC News that a man was killed in an accident at Bakerswood, St. Peter, around 5 minutes past 9. It involved a motor car owned and driven by a 53-year-old man and a now deceased 41-year-old male motorcyclist. The two vehicles were traveling in opposite directions when they collided. The motorcyclist received injuries and died at the scene. He was pronounced dead by a medical doctor who visited the area. Now, the forecast for tourism from the UK market remains very strong, with projections out of that market for the upcoming summer and winter tourist seasons being given a shot in the arm with the relaxation of COVID-19 protocols for visitors. Director for the Barbados Tourism Marketing Incorporated for the UK market, Cheryl Carter, gave an update last night on the People's Business. As the program focused on tourism projections for 2022 and beyond, she revealed that load factors for the summer months are currently predicted to be between 76 and 89%. Ms. Carter also confirms that there will be a big return of frequent and direct service from major airline partners for the winter season, with tourism numbers possibly rivaling 2019, which was a banner year for the tourism industry.
Certainly, the recent relaxation of the testing and protocols to result in a significant spike in demand for the destination. There's significant pent-up demand. Barbados continues to be a destination with huge cachet, and all of our operators are saying to us that they're seeing tremendous interest in booking Barbados for the summer and, of course, also for the winter.
Can we talk about those winter projections just yet?
I think we can. I mean, reality is that all of the operators that we've spoken to in the last 2 weeks, because we do this fortnightly catch-up, are reporting to us that they're pacing well ahead of 2019, and that for us is very encouraging.
Meanwhile, the BTMI Director for Canada, Peter Mears, also on the program, has described the removal of the COVID-19 testing requirements and the partial lifting of mask mandates as a game changer for the tourism sector here in Barbados. He reveals there is greater confidence in that Canadian market, and this has also resulted in the return of WestJet planned for 2023.
Get to this stage now where we are saying for fully vaccinated persons there is no need for that test, and then the Canadian government saying for Canadians coming home who are fully vaccinated you don't need a test. It certainly is something that has been received warmly, and I think it is also reflected in the bookings we're seeing, not just for Barbados, in general. The sentiment for travel, even for Canadians looking to travel to Europe now, where, for instance, the idea of a mask is almost frowned upon in certain scenarios. Generally speaking, it is a step in the right direction. And as I said, the fact that we know that Air Canada and WestJet will fly only fully vaccinated persons, it fits quite well with our business model.
And some other big news is Barbados will see a return of Copa Airlines next month. This as there is expected to be a resurgence in travel from the Latin American and Caribbean market, according to BTMI Director for that market, Corey Garrett.
We look forward to our Caribbean visitors moving back to or coming back to the market. We will continue to work with the airlines to get that capacity back. On the terms of Latin America, as mentioned before, Copa returns June the 15th. So we expect that interest or that influx of Latin American travelers to pick up once again. As you know, their winter is our summer, so it provides a great opportunity for Destination Barbados to have some business during what are usually the softer months of the summer periods outside the traditional North Atlantic markets. So we're definitely looking forward to working with those key markets. Brazil, Colombia, Mexico is a very promising market for us. They're showing lots of interest pre-pandemic and even post-pandemic. And then to tie it all in, the entire cruise sector, and I know you guys have spoken about cruise last week, but we've also seen tremendous interest come out of the Latin American cruise sector. Actually, over the course of the pandemic, my team and I had the privilege of training over 1,800 agents virtually from the cruise sector on Destination Barbados. And this has come out of course, the home porting relationships that we fostered during the pandemic period. So we expect to see also a larger addition of Latin American cruisers coming to the Barbadian shores. So
in other news this morning, we hear that 58 males and 60 females make up the 180 new COVID-19 cases recorded in Barbados on Saturday. Looking further at the numbers, we see that of this number, there were 24 people under the age of 18 and 94 persons 18 years and older. The Best dos Santos Public Health Lab conducted a total of 554 tests that day. There are now 48 people in isolation and 2,172 people in home isolation. No deaths were recorded and the death toll remains at 446. And finally, in our headline news, construction of 1,000 low-income homes using wood from Guyana could start within months. The Minister of Housing, Lands and Maintenance, Dwight Sutherland, made that revelation last evening as he toured the modular home on display at AgroFest 2022. The 600 square foot house was assembled mainly by Barbadian workers in less than 10 days. Minister Sutherland says these homes will help to trim the backlog of 25,000 applications currently before the National Housing Corporation, some dating back as far as 25 years. The houses, which will be constructed under a partnership with the NHC and Duravilla Homes from Guyana, will form part of the government's plan to construct 10,000 homes in the next few years.
Tomorrow when we sit we will come up with a plan as to where we're going to place the first 1,000 Joe Villa homes, Joe Villa NHC homes in this country. So these homes will be going in urban Barbados and rural Barbados across the length and breadth of Barbados. And we are targeting 1,000 homes within the next 12 months.
And construction on the 1,000 homes could begin as early as August, depending on when the wood arrives here in Barbados. Mr. Sutherland says most of the other material used to construct the homes will be locally sourced, including the permaclad and concrete board. According to the minister, government has already identified 35,000 vacant lots and derelict properties where homes can be constructed, and the cost to homeowners will be less than $100,000. And that's our headline news. I'm Shane Seeley. It's back over to you, Wendy.
Thank you so much, Shane. That's some good news for some potential homeowners. Well, we'll take a break and be right back.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
And we're back. Valentino Barrow, before we left off, was talking to us about the vendors at the Fairchild Street market. But he's also the vice president of BARVIN, which is the Barbados Vendors Association. So let's now talk about some of the wider vending issues in Bridgetown and across the country. Valentino?
Yes, thank you.
Now, there are also some vendors that are currently occupying the Jubilee area, what we knew traditionally as the bus stand, the old bus stand, but it's now changed over to a park, and now the vendors are occupying that area. Are they happy there?
But they're happier there than where they were before, I can tell you that much. As you know, there was a time when they didn't want any vendors there. But the pandemic changed all of that. We had to find ways of, how should I put it, facilitating the protocols of the land at the time. And so hence, some of the vendors were allowed to set up there. I'm not entirely certain if that will continue indefinitely, but presently, from all reports, there are a happy bunch of campers there, and they are trying to make the most of it.
Now, some new legislation came, which I'm sure was pleasing to vendors, in that there's no longer this issue of being arrested or having a record for, you know, vending without the license or where you set up, etc. How has BARVIN taken that news of the changes coming?
Well, I can't say that BARVIN has taken the news, because BARVIN had a strong part in the making of that policy. So obviously we welcome that, because we are all about organization. We are all about organized and proper control of any sector. If you know anything without control is destined to be chaotic. So we welcome that. But we want to make it clear. I've been hearing people saying that the Prime Minister said that you can't touch vendors. I don't think that is what the Prime Minister said. What we did and what this policy has done upon when it's properly implemented is to try to organize the sector and make it fair to all. So if you're vending in a particular space and you do not have a license to vend there, you're still contravening the act. And you should seek the proper protocols in which you can become a legitimate vendor. Okay? Now, we have noticed along certain sectors in the city that people that already vend from another location are what I would call muscling in on others. We have that situation presently on the Fairchild Street Market Village premises, where people come down on the lucrative days, predominantly Friday, and cut in on those legitimate vendors of that area, which is wrong, which is very, very wrong. And they can be challenged.
Okay. Now, what would you suggest to alter this? Maybe some kind of badge that is specific to the area you're registered to vend in? How can you better police it?
Well, first and foremost, from what I gather, certain elements of the policy is still being addressed, and how should I put it, that all the agencies involved will be on the same page, because you don't want to just rush ahead and then you find yourself with legal turmoil. That makes no sense. So when all of these things have been fine-tuned and ironed out and it gets going full steam ahead, as I has said, probably will be somewhere along the line of June. I do believe it should be. You know, you don't need no special badge. What you need to have is your vendor's license. You have your paper. If you're approached by the authorities, you can show your paper and it will state where you are allowed to vend. So if, let's just say, you're on River Road and your license states that you should be on Swan Street, I know you know you're wrong before, but the officers and those that officials will definitely know that you had no right vending there, and you can't be ticketed for that, and you can't be fined for that. And I think the fine is $500. So I don't think you will want to have to pay $500 today, and if you decide to set up tomorrow, you're challenged again, a further $500. No. If you find that you're interested in vending in any form or fashion, always seek the proper protocols so that you'll be in your rights, because vendors have rights, and that bill have given vendors their true call, their right to vend without being discriminated against.
And
but
that's
it
what's
also
most critical.
protects the various sectors, you understand? And you will be hearing these words, vending, oh, come on. Let's call them vending areas for now, vending zones. And you get a hold of a copy of the National Vending Policy. Not just to say that you have one, but also to take a reading of it and know your rights, but also know when you infringe, what will be the penalties. If something else goes wrong, you will know what is the recourse that you have available to you. That's why it's such a beautiful piece of legislation.
Okay.
Barvin is truly impressed and happy with it.
Now, Barvin has its own market there off the mighty Guyana highway. I pass, I see it busy. My question though is, why not open a few more days in the week?
I see a lot of people have a misconception that we are only allowed Friday and Saturday down there, which is true. But it's not true still. Friday and Saturday is mostly the times when it's lucrative, okay? But if you enter into the facility, you will see there are other people down there that are open. You see, the thing is with Barvin Market, a lot of the people that vine down there, especially vegetable and fruit and ground provision, okay? They are farmers. So during the week, they are busy farming. And then the majority of them come on Saturdays and Fridays to buy their trade and sell what they produce. But you will find that we have down there, for instance, we have Chef Craig. He's there on a daily basis now. We also have a barber down there who does the same thing. Barber, got some hair, hairstyles and all of that. And from what I can see, he's pretty good at it. To the front now, we have a lady. She does bread. She deals with bread and other drinks and so forth. And she's there also on a daily basis. What we're trying to do is to encourage some of the farmers, if they can come out more days than the two, to help boost the market on Guyana Highway during the week.
Okay. It might be a little difficult in terms of staffing and so on, but let's hope. Because sometimes you pass and you say, oh dear, I've run out of sweet potatoes. If only there was a vendor there now, but that's how it goes. Now, outside of your market, a lot of street vending has started along the highways. Do you all as an association have concerns about how it's being done?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. We do not believe that the highway is a place for vending. No, we don't. All we see is if the slightest thing go wrong, we see death. That's what we see. And it might be more so our members or patrons that can be impacted negatively by that kind of vending. We're in consultation with the relevant ministries, and unfortunately, COVID come calling unexpectedly and unwelcome, and has stemmed a lot of these negotiations and progress. But what we're looking at is setting up vending zones in close proximity, but out of harm's way, close to the highway, where there's traffic, but away from the danger zones, where the cars can veer off and come to those locations and do their vending from those vendors.
I'm glad that Barvin is putting safety first and always, as well as protecting the interests and rights of vendors in our community. I want to thank you so much, Valentino Barrow, for joining me this morning. We've learned a lot about you and your vending community, and we wish you all well, and we want to tell those who are muscling in to stop it. Everybody wants a chance to earn.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mornin Barbados will take a break, and we'll be right back.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
And we're back. We're going to be having a history lesson this morning. Yes, one into Jewish history. We're going to be joined this morning by a number of rabbis. I want to welcome Rabbi Shlomo Ben Levi of the Beth Elohim Ethiopian Hebrew Congregation in Queens, New York. Rabbi Yahaf Brazelton, he is from Beth Shalom B'nai Zaken, the Ethiopian Hebrew Congregation in Chicago, Illinois, and Rabbi Baruch Yehuda, he's of the B'nai Adaf called Beth Yizra. Now, gentlemen, you are with us. We want to welcome you. Tell us about your purpose for being here.
Thank you. And may I say good morning or shalom Barbados. We are delighted to be back here on the island with the mission of revitalizing and rededicating a black synagogue that exists here on the island of Barbados called the Zion House of Israel. And it was founded more than 50 years ago by a Bajan woman named Mabel Beckles. The history of our denomination, often called, and people think of it as the Black Jews of the United States, when you look at the history of our organization, what you will find is although the movement began in the United States, most of the leaders and many of the early rabbis were of Caribbean descent. Particularly, the first black rabbi named Arnold Josiah Ford, who, interestingly enough, was born in Bridgetown, Barbados in 1877. And he is considered the first black rabbi in existence. He came to the United States shortly before World War I. He was a talented musician, and he was an officer of the Universal Negro Improvement Association that was founded by Marcus Mosiah Garvey. And he was the musical director of that organization, and he promoted black identity, black pride, and an interest in understanding the black presence in the Bible as part of our cultural heritage, a cultural heritage that all black people share and that we can embrace. And this was a major step in reclaiming our identity, that our identity does not start with slavery, and that what we would normally think of as Judaism or the people of the Bible are also part of the larger black experience, a black culture, an African culture and its origin. And with me, I have Rabbi Baruch Yehuda, as you mentioned earlier. His congregation was founded in Brooklyn, New York, and one of the rabbis who helped found it that was also from Barbados, and he was the first rabbi here at the Zion House of Israel. His name was Patiel Evelyn. And the woman Mabel Beckles, who I mentioned, she helped found a congregation called Beth Shalom in Brooklyn, New York, that was founded by my father. Mother Beckles was one of the founders of that congregation, and she was also of Bajan origin. When she retired and returned to the island in the 1960s, she purchased a plot of land in Haggett's Hall, Barbados, and built a synagogue on that land called the Zion House of Israel. During our stay, yes.
Yeah, all of this is quite amazing and interesting to know that Barbadians, have been at the forefront of it. It's not something we hear of that often here, the idea of the black Jews. We do have our synagogue in Bridgetown, and the population isn't as large as maybe it would be for you in New York, but we know them. But to hear this history now is quite amazing. You mentioned it's in Haggett Hall. Exactly where in Haggett Hall?
It's near the Sky Mall, about 5 minutes from the Sky Mall in Haggett's Hall. We've been navigating around the island. On our first few days, we did visit Nidche Yisrael, which is the oldest synagogue in Bridgetown. And we were very disappointed, in fact, to discover that none of the travel guides about the island mentioned the black synagogue. So they said there's a synagogue on the island. It's called Nidche Yisrael. It's a big synagogue right there in Bridgetown, but it doesn't actually hold services. right? It's a museum. People can visit it, but if you actually want to experience a service, a place to pray and worship and to learn about the Black presence in the Bible, the only place that one could go right now is the Zion House of Israel in Haggett's Hall.
How
And that
often do you
congregation-
have services?
We have service every Sabbath, which is for us is the seventh day. So we are biblical people. We actually prefer the term Israelite as opposed to Jew. They are largely synonymous, but Israelite refers to the biblical people. Jews come in all races and nationalities, but often when people think of Jews, they think of Ashkenazi Jews or European. And so when you say Israelite, you're referring to the biblical people. And so although most Jews are not Black and not all Jews are Black, but our position is that all Jews have African ancestry because our people were slaves in Egypt, which is in Africa, for 400 years. And the Bible tells us in the book of Genesis and Exodus that they emerged from Africa, walked 40 years to Israel, led by people who were all born in Africa, Moses, Miriam, Joshua. They were all African-born Israelites.
Okay.
And they went to Israel and established the nation of Israel. And now they're Jews all over the world.
If I can speak to Rabbi Levi from Queens, New York. Now, Queens has a large Barbadian population as well. Have you had a lot of Barbadians attending your temple there, your mosque, your synagogue? Have you had a lot of them attending, and have you had a lot of conversions?
I'm going to defer to my colleague Rabbi Baruch, and his congregation is actually in Brooklyn, which has an even larger Caribbean population than Queens. It's one of the largest congregations that we have in New York, and he can speak to that issue.
Okay.
Good morning, Barbados, and good morning to you, Wendy. We are glad to be here. In our congregation, we have a plethora of families from the islands, from Jamaica, from Barbados. One of our members actually lives a lot of her time here on the island, and we are thankful. We have members of our board who have Barbadian origin. Speaking of Dr. Cooper and his mother, Kalila Cooper, who are part of our congregation as well. And we embrace our family from wherever they come from, but it has always historically been that many of our people who find their way back to Torah are from the islands and the Caribbean, and it's because they can understand in a very tangible way how they came from through this slave trade, through the West Coast slave trade, and how it brought them here. We learned that when they left the West Coast, even if they didn't put up a sail, the trade winds would bring them directly to Barbados. So what has happened is that our people on these islands have had a distinct and different understanding than many of the people born in the Americas who are a little bit more distant from that history and how it has affected them.
Okay, that's interesting. How has it been for you so far on the trip, Rabbi Levi?
Yes, well, everyone has been very hospitable. We've been welcome into people's homes to welcome the Sabbath on Friday evenings. We've made contact with our Rastafarian brothers who share a kind of common interest in our identity. Particularly Rabbi Ford, as I said, he was born here in Barbados. He went to the United States, helped found the Garvey movement, found Black synagogues. But in 1930, he immigrated to Ethiopia. And he actually performed at the coronation of Emperor Haile Selassie. And many of our Rastafarian brothers who share a common Judaic interest in particularly Judaism, the Star of David, the wearing of dreadlocks, which is found in the Torah in the book of Numbers, have this affinity with us. And so we've been making contact with them. We have been meeting with families and groups who have been meeting in their homes and want to know when we're going to reopen our synagogue. And currently, we are located, as we said, in Haggett's Hall. Moray Micaiah is the teacher there, and we are working to send a full-time rabbi to Barbados very soon.
Okay, so I guess we await that arrival. Now, gentlemen, I want to welcome you to Barbados once again. Here's hoping that you can spread your message to as many Barbadians as possible, because it was a very interesting history lesson for me this morning. So I'm sure lots of other Barbadians are going to be engaged. Can you mention your website so we can find more information?
Absolutely. It's very easy to remember. It's www.blackjews.org, blackjews.org. And there you'll find information about our history, about congregations, about traditions. All of that can be found there on the website.
Okay, quite interesting to know. Again, a warm welcome to you too, Barbados, and here's hoping that your dedication goes really well.
Thank you very much. God bless you.
Bless you all as well. It was fun talking to the rabbis this morning. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll tell you about a different kind of sport.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
And we're back. This morning, we're going to get to meet the United Blind Cricket Association. Yes, the United Blind Cricketers, they will be having a tournament coming up soon in Guyana. They're here to tell us about what they do and how maybe you can become a part of that team. I want to welcome Cheryl Griffith, the president, Elvis Maloney, the vice president, and Hartley Reed, the second vice president. Good morning to you all.
Good morning, Miss Burke. Good morning.
Yes, good morning. Now, Hartley, you are a familiar face as well as Elviston. Miss Griffith is new to me, but tell me how the association came about, Miss Griffith, and how big is it?
Well, good morning to all. Good morning to all. Cricket started in 2003 when English cricket decided to become a trained, blind, and visually impaired person to play the game of blind cricket. And then we established a team, and then we were traveling from one Caribbean island to the next. Then eventually we made the first West Indian cricket blind and vision impaired team in 2006, which I was a part of that. I was the only lady, and I still yet has that record for the only lady to ever be in blind.
Well, we have to find some more women to join you.
Yes, you think you do.
Elvis,
so that is why.
Go on, Miss Griffith.
Oh yeah, so that is why now we are starting our trials on the 13th of June, so that we can have much more women and men coming out and being a part of blind cricket. It's an awesome game to play.
Okay. Elviston, what is so special about blind cricket? What's different to this game as opposed to the traditional game?
Basically, the rules are slightly different, but the principles are still the same. You bowl underarm as opposed to over, and batsmen can either stoop or kneel as they feel comfortable as they play their strokes. Also, the other thing is that the batsmen bat what we call like cross batted. So the bat is flat on the ground when the batsman make his or her shot selection, and that way, for the most part, not all the time, but for the most part, the ball is kept along the ground. Whereas occasionally you will get a ball that will go airborne, and but that happens if it comes off the top of the bat or something like that. Usual thing, but you can get you can be bowled, you can before, you can be caught, you can be run out. All the other rules that pertain to normal cricket apply to blind cricket. Just those few things I mentioned earlier makes it a little bit exceptional.
Okay. Now, Hartley, you are a man who loves his cricket and cricket organization. How long have you been with the United Blind Cricketers, and what's your role with them?
Well, greetings. I was asked by the then president, now our public relations officer, to come and assist, as I was then a member of the board of the Barbados Cricket Association, and the constitution of the Blind Cricket Association, the United Blind Cricket Association, is that while the president and the first vice president must be visibly challenged, the second vice president can be cited. And that is how I have been brought into the system to assist in whatever way possible, and to whatever little information on contacts that I may have garnered over the years, to bring to the new body, because they didn't explain to you that we have really come out of another body so that we can further advance the blind cricket in Barbados and also the region.
Okay, well, tell me how that progression happened, and what's the difference in the formation of this association now?
Elvis?
Well,
I can say.
Okay, ladies first.
Go ahead, Ella. Yeah, well, yes, Mr. Reed is quite correct. When we first started, there was another blind cricket team here, but because of things that we see that should not be happening in the blind cricket fraternity, we decided to create United Blind Cricket Association, so we can get things on the right track for blind and vision impaired persons who wants to play the game.
Okay. Elviston, tell me about the trials that you're having in terms of your timings, your location, etc.
Well, trials begin as of the 13th of next month, which is June, between 3 and 5:30 in the evenings. And we practice at the YMPC grounds right adjacent to the Center for the Blind and Deaf. That is, I think, convenient for most. And we have practice twice weekly on Mondays and Fridays. This is where individuals who are interested can come by and have a look. And even if you become even more interested, then they can become registered members, for those who are not members, of course. and become part and parcel of the team. The trial process will obviously go through a period where then the best players will be selected based on performance, just like we would do with normal cricket. So it's not a matter of just picking people just because they can play or because they have an interest. You really do have to perform in order to qualify for the trials and then more than likely selection for the upcoming tournament.
Yes, because I guess when we go to Guyana in August, we want to know that we have our best men and women on board. Now, Hartley, it's interesting that you're allowed to mix teams in the blind cricket.
Well, there is nothing really new, you know, even in our, what you would call our traditional cricket. The BCA, there are no as to whether women may join men on the same team. That is, in fact, Deandra Dottin, Haley Matthews, Shaquana Quinton, they've also played with male cricket teams in our cricket competition. So this is nothing new. It is just that, like everything else, everybody now is equal, and we are looking at the performance of the ability rather than just the gender. But let me take this opportunity.
I just want you to stick a pin, Hartley, to tell you how pleased I am that those words just came out of your mouth. That's all. Continue.
I don't even know which word you mean, then. Yeah.
But about us being equal, a gender not having a thing to do with it.
Yeah, but yes. But right now we are in search of a coach for our cricket. Our former coach has been elevated to higher responsibility. So we are in search of a dedicated coach, not a person who just wants to be popular, but a person who has a love for the blind cricket, who understands the blind cricket, and is prepared to put in the 9 yards, so to speak, so that when we travel to Guyana for this competition, we would have a full management team, a full management squad, including a coach. So anyone who has an interest in coaching the blind cricketers may contact either Cheryl, Aviston, or myself, for that matter.
You need to give us some contact numbers or email addresses so they can find you.
Okay, my email is Maloney, MALONEY, .elvis@gmail.com, or my cell 824-1960.
And what about your information, President Cheryl?
HERYLGR04@gmail.com. And my cell number is 267-4811.
Okay. Hartley, I hope they hear your call for that coach and they answer, because Barbados has a number of trained coaches at the various levels. So let's hope someone comes forward. Not necessarily a retiree, but just somebody with some time who's willing to give back and realize that the blind are also members of our community and they too deserve the best.
Thank you for that.
Thank you for that, Doug Wendy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, when we get to Guyana, what kind of tournament can we expect? How big is this undertaking, Elvis?
Well, it depends basically on how many teams are going to participate. But what would normally happen is that they usually do a playoff, where like we would do in 2020 or the ODI, and then the teams which would have been the most successful would be the ones that will go for the playoff for third place, and then finals obviously for the winner and the runner-up. So like I said earlier, Wendy, it takes the format of normal cricket. So there's absolutely nothing different here. And again, the fixtures will be set based on the participation. So depending on the level of participation, fixtures will be set, and then teams will be grouped, and they go forward from there.
Okay, and is Barbados usually into the semis and the finals?
Now, we've been there a couple of times. We haven't been successful, but we're hoping going forward in 2022 that we can change that. since our president made the point that we were, generally speaking, the pioneers who would have actually driven the process over the years, especially in the initial stages. So I really think it's time that we not only help to build, but we also become an actual successor in terms of winning the tournament and giving ourselves a little bit more acknowledgement in the process.
Okay, and Cheryl, the final question goes to you. In terms of that call for some cricketers to come out, make that appeal.
Well, I want to say to all Barbadians, if you're blind or if you're visually impaired, some people will call it partially sighted, you need to come to trials on the 13th of June. That's 13th of June at YMPC Pasteur. And we start on the Monday at 3:30 p.m. and we're going on to 5:30. So all Barbadians with blind or vision impaired are welcome.
Okay, thank you so much. Yes, Elviston.
The one thing that I would also add to the president's comments is that it's not just a matter of coming out. It's a good opportunity to get some valuable exercise and to participate in a game that probably you never thought was possible.
Okay, thank you for that, Elviston Maloney. I want to thank all of you for joining me this morning. Cheryl Griffith, the president, Elviston Maloney, vice president, and Hartley Reid, second vice president. I hope both of your calls are heard, that for a dedicated coach and also for some individuals to come out and try out so we take the best team possible into Guyana in August. Thank you so much and have a brilliant morning.
Thank you, Randy.
Yeah, thank you.
Mornin Barbados.
Yes, they're also welcome. Go on and try out. If there's someone in your family who might be interested, get them out, get them involved. We'll take a break and we'll be back.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
And we're back. It was a busy weekend for most, especially those who decided to visit AgroFest. Yes, AgroFest 2022 happened at the weekend after a year's hiatus. Now, when we visited, we interacted somewhat and found out about a few things, but we got to see the livestock and some farmers with some really beautiful animals. So we spoke with Judge Ronald Springer, and he told us exactly what they're looking for when they were judging the cattle.
To be aware, one of the judges for the show at the present moment, the beef cattle have been through to the process, and we were now looking forward to have the sheep show shortly. What we have been looking for, the animals, etc., like we're looking for like the height, the length, the depth, the mass, and meat per ratio. We are mostly looking at having a beef cattle with 55% on the top and 45% underneath. We also look at from the hip to the pin. We look at the chest, we look at the ribeye area, etc. But basically what we are looking for again is to have the mass, which we all will be looking to have a good animal for any show. An animal that can very well set the herd apart. I.e., you don't need to have a beef cattle that doesn't have good feet on legs, likewise, and in terms of the hip and the width, which is a little bit small, you don't want that as well. Because you want an animal that can set your herd apart. So, just in a nutshell, just a few pointers that to be aware of for the beef farmers. And there's a criteria for the selection process, and some of them will be aware of it, and then make sure that the others do familiarize themselves with such process.
I'm looking for that ribeye area too, because it's steak time. Yes, the animals were indeed magnificent. Kudos to our farmers who, continue to be part of this expo each and every year. Well done to you, farmers. We'll take a break and be back.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
As the week goes by, we will bring you various interesting sights and sounds from AgriFest so you can see what you missed if you weren't there in the park or rekindle that memory as you went through. It really was a fairly good one this year, you know, after that break. So we all enjoyed ourselves who were there. Also, remember, it's World MS Day, so wear your orange. And if you know someone who's blind or sight impaired that might be interested in the cricket, encourage them to go on out. It's Morning Barbados. Have a brilliant Monday. I'm Wendy Burke.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning.